And game 2, how do you do? Vici Gaming Jingdong put on a bit of a showcase and one that we weren't too proud of, but especially with Vici Gaming getting the first win, who would have guessed that Jingdong would ban away Olaf?
And my lord, Vici, they actually get blue side again. Not too certain whether Vici or Jingdong selected this one, but if it were the side of Jingdong, that might be a little bit of a surprise. I mean, with the great reception of Karma mid in the first game, they immediately rotate to it once again, and I think that this is one of those things that Vici does. If it's something that succeeds, they just want to keep on doing it all the way until it doesn't.
Well, it's interesting because I didn't feel like Easy Hoon's first priority was the Karma, so now they've locked in the support, so there's definitely Easy Hoon going mid Karma, and with so much left available, granted, Azir, Vladimir taken off the board from themselves, they're taking the Camille again, the Xayah and the Gangplank, but Easy Hoon still had other champions available.
They had so many, but instead they wanted to go for the wave clear, they wanted to go for the pseudo support, because they saw the team comp of Jingdong previously, and they saw that there was no way to dive the ADC. This time round, the Alistar actually gets picked up by the opposite side, so Jingdong finally have some way to dive onto Martin. Although, the fact that there is a Tahm Kench means that the Kog'Maw is going to be much safer than you would initially imagine, and after the initial CC, Karma can always get that Kog'Maw out to safety.
Well, Galio, Alistar, and Varus locked in across the board, and this time it is going to be the Kog'Maw, Tahm Kench bottom lane, and going up against the Varus Alistar. You got to imagine that Martin is going to have to play this one very, very differently from last game. Not about the laning phase anymore, about the impact on those team fights, and the front line again from Jingdong looks strong, but how they execute it is a different story. Shen taken off the board, Fiora, we're not going to see the same top lane matchup, even Nidalee taken away from Swift. This time, what do we go for? Because, I mean, Sejuani, Jarvan's still available. Different priority in these different teams.
Well, you know, it was just the respect ban. So obviously the Olaf in the first game did a lot of good work, and the Nidalee is just a Swift special. Now that all of his comfort champions are taken off, yeah, Jarvan should be the next biggest priority. It works really well with this team comp, and it gives it what it is currently lacking, which is a whole lot of engage. If they don't get some engage on Vici Gaming, then this could be a very difficult game and a very drawn out one, because without any sort of way forward, we know that Vici Gaming doesn't do too well.
Respect for the Gnar and Zoom. Not the first time, not going to be the last time picking this one up. And with Loong, maybe goes for something a little bit more passive. We'll have to see. And this is something that we've seen more priority in the higher up teams. And I was surprised that we didn't see this in game 1.
Yeah, but we finally get to pick it up.
What?
Yeah.
What was that noise?
No, well, I had to agree with you, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be it, which is quite disappointing, because I wanted to see the matchup into Gnar. It's a great matchup into Gnar because of your Raw, but
Yep.
they go for another option, which doesn't make me as happy.
I did say, if you're going to go something passive, I mean, go a big fat tank. And there ain't no fatter than Maokai. Is there?
Are you talking about model size?
Yeah.
I think Sion's bigger.
Is he?
Yeah.
Sion's taller. I think
It's huge.
Maokai's fatter.
Huge.
Maybe is Alistar bigger?
No. Alistar's tiny in terms of model.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay, alright. Well, the things you learn here on Around the World. Well, this time going to be the Kha'Zix coming in for Swift. And it's a strange team composition that's actually been built by Vici Gaming. There's protection that's going to come from Easy Hoon, which you'd have to understand is why he went the Karma again. Especially when Martin is going to play a very, very predictable champion.
My biggest concern looking at the lineup for Vici is, of course, the Kha'Zix, which is the last rotation. Because what exactly is his job going into this team fight? He can't necessarily catch out Zoom, because Zoom's going to be in the front line, and there's no real way that he can take down GRD, because all of this defensive priority for Jingdong really does work against it. So this looks like it's going to be a game that's very heavily stacked up against Swift. His biggest choice is to make plays in the early game, but we're talking about Swift, right? He doesn't want to live in his lanes. He wants to live in the enemy jungle, like always.
Yeah, and last game was the invading game for Swift, where he would not stop until he had enough, and then I guess he's had enough. It's going to be the Kha'Zix going up against the Zac, and for Jingdong losing game 1. wasn't a big confidence booster for me, and I know it wouldn't be for you guys either. Jingdong has been a team that has been stop and start for really the duration of the spring split, and I think it's shown in their score. But for Vici Gaming, the inconsistencies do not lie. Maybe they're breaking the curse, maybe they've finally got something to say, but in Game 2, Jingdong have a chance to fight back, or maybe for Vici Gaming, a chance to finally do what's right and keep your strength.
Well, if that is the case, then Vici Gaming need to start by reforming what they do in the early game. So, you know what's most fortunate, Hysterics? The fact that we actually get to see the early game first. Let's see if Swift actually changes it up, or if he sticks to his old playstyle, which might not work given the team comp.
Well, Jingdong, this is where you fall out, and losing to Vici Gaming when you've fought against arguably better teams, that's not good whatsoever. And there's been a lot of criticism for Vici, but now it's their chance to nut up or shut up, Preacher. And in Game 2, you think that means something totally different. In Game 2, we're definitely going to find out if Vici have what it takes as my video loads once more. Jesus.
I'm actually scared. I mean, I'm not even in the arena, Hysterics, and already, just that sound is nuts.
Absolutely bonkers. That is a very aggressive fan, and he's one of those fans I reckon you'd talk to him and be like, no, Vici Gaming's better. He's like, what you say? What do you say about my team?
Yeah, he'd definitely be one of the argumentative ones. Don't catch him on an off day, but he's supporting his team that now is one game down in this best of 3. If anybody could give them energy to come back, it should be him. Team comp's looking good for Jingdong. Kind of looks like they have a very nice edge.
And I want to point out that Martin has actually taken press the attack here. This is important because almost all the time on Cogmores we do see the fleet footwork. We see, like when we saw Cogmore back with Warlord's Bloodlust. You needed the movement speed, you needed the sustain in lane. Press the attack is a very ballsy rune to take into this Varus Alistair matchup.
Hard agree, and more importantly, if you wanted to forego the fleet footwork, something else that you can go is also lethal tempo. It doesn't work on many champions, but Cogmore is one of those champions that it does work on because he gets more of his W, he gets more of the Ginzu, he gets more of anything that he chooses to build, like a Wit's End, but he opted to go for press the attack, which I don't really think he's going to be able to get off in too many of these early game trades, at the very least, because the more times that he's whacking against GRD should be getting his blight stacks and thus more damage off against Cogmore.
Well, Swifty started red, went all the way over to Raptors, and then all the way over to blue. Swift hitting level 3 now. Where's his impact? He's going top. And Zoom is going to drop a ward in the try. It's been pinged out by Lung. Zoom going to go Mega as well, so this is not optional for the jungler of Vici Gaming. And Swift, is he still going to have the same impact? He's still going to look for the invade because although Kha'Zix is an aggressive jungler early and has a similar kind of impact to Zac in terms of needing to have lane presence, it's not like the Olaf, he's not going to have the same clear speed.
No, and more importantly, it's going to be really difficult once again to 1v1 the Zac because the passive always means that there's about a good 5 seconds extra for your laners to collapse and to help you against the 1v1 into Swift. So Swift, while normally this is a very difficult game for him to play because he usually likes to just bully out, I suspect that he's going to do it nonetheless, and that might work against him. So watch for him to invade on the top side of the map. You can already see on the minimap that a ward along the Raptor camp will mean that that is the natural place that he should be keeping his eyes on because he can't wait for his bottom lane to collapse. It's so difficult for a Cogmore early game to help out in an invade.
Swift still sitting in the top lane. Does Zoom know? Is he sitting on a ward?
No.
Oh,
He's engaged.
Boy, he's been found out. Zoom, got to be careful of the isolation. Is a flash going to come from Swift? No. Zoom didn't use his either, and that was okay. Don't think it's going to force him out of the lane.
No, it just gives Loon more or less of a free roam period. Although doesn't really look like that's what he needs, because Maokai was having a good time anyway. Now Klid's coming up for a bit of a response.
Well, Klid, no ward here. They do not know where he is. Going to go for the lane gank, and there are no wards in those brushes either.
There is, however, the deadliest soccer ball of all. It's waiting.
Well, he's going to go in there first. But he doesn't go in that brush, and it's going to be the stun up. The flash from Lung, which is more than you can say for when Swift came in this top lane, so well done from Klid. But for Jingdong, they've got a little bit of time to continue playing in this top lane. Klid going to back away. And another slow game, Preacher. It's like when we watch Vici and Jingdong, it's like as if they're two teams who are maybe a little bit slower than your average, so maybe a little bit indecisive as well.
Yeah, it looks like a whole lot of communication problems, shot calling problems, decision making problems, not necessarily getting... You know, all of those things added up. It sounds like me and my first romance. I was really slow in high school. I didn't know what I was doing, right? And more to the point, I would always like second guess myself. I would be like, is this the right thing to do? No, maybe it's not. And at the end of the day, when you do that too many times, you get into your own head. That's what it feels like for both these two teams right now.
Can't say I've ever gone through that stage, but I mean, it's fair enough. Self-doubt can be the enemy of us all. Standing on a ward, Klid was unable to do anything, and Caveman Martin definitely respecting the range and that slingshot at level 4. And you'd have to say, yes, he is actually maxing it first. Good on him. If you don't, it's silly Billy. But no early advantage. Vici Gaming are the only ones with the gold lead, and that is purely because of small increment in that jungle. Swift finding himself with a couple of isolated camps to kick things off, and Zoom now actually ulting Lung against the wall. There's still a minion wave to help him. Zoom getting the damage off, and here comes the Heroic Engine to teleport to match as well. These are members coming up, committing for the fight. 2 versus 2, but already goes down. Jingdong getting first blood. Easyhoon has to flash, and that Justice Punch would have done a world of justice for Jingdong.
Yeah, but Easyhoon, he completes his TP. Usually that's the condition in which you would cancel it, because Lung died without Easyhoon even being able to help in any sense of the word, and immediately falling down. This is an early play by Jingdong, which is what we expect given the nature of the way that Vici usually plays. I don't think too much is going to come of this. It's quite interesting though, how Jingdong haven't actually adapted to the most recent patch. Usually banner minions are the most important things in the game. You know, it's just too hard to clear. There's not real any way to get rid of them. Vici have already adapted. You can see that they've got 3 minion dematerializers on their team. Jingdong don't have a single one. So they're looking to get an advantage, and they're looking to not lose the Baron, because if they do lose the Baron, they could lose a whole lot more than that.
You know, especially when the tactic has been for these supports to hold on to those minion dematerializers, wait for the Baron, and help clear the waves. Especially with those siege and, like you said, the Baron minions that really just build up in these waves. Martin and K-Man having the exact impact that we thought. Mobility's rushed for Mao. And this Alistar looking to roam, but where? Where's he going to go? Because there's a lot of mobility from Easyhoon in the mid lane. And you're going to have to go all the way to the top to Lung. Impact from Mount so far is 0.
Movement speed does not matter if you can get the headbutt pulverize off. If you do that, then the shield runs out by the time that her feet touch the ground, and Karma's just in a really tough situation. Although in mid lane,
no flash, no response. Easyhoon, he's confident, he's actually walking forward. That's a lot of damage, as to be known with Karma early.
Get out of my lane.
Well, she does. 12 CS ahead now. Bottom lane ahead, Vici Gaming having a good early game presence and peace of mind, you'd have to say. Only lane that's losing out is Lung in the top lane, but that's to be expected with Maokai going up against the Gnar. Swift steals away the blue buff, and Klid just cannot get a break.
Yeah, and it's just the first blood advantage that went over to Zoom. The fact that he managed to get it, and he's also Gnar into a Maokai, it's not generally a tough matchup for the Maokai, but all things considered, it is working against him most certainly. And now with the Phage as well as everything else, that's really starting to tick up. I mean, Zoom hasn't even reached his power spike yet. Wait until he gets to level 13 and he's maxed both his Q and his W. That's when he'll be ripping through Lung, and Lung will be calling for a lot of help. This is different from the first game, because in the first game, help for Lung means other people engaging and then him ulting in as a Shen. This game, he actively needs people to join him.
This blue will go over to the side of Easy Hoon. Vici Gaming, their jungler is a couple of milestones ahead. 1 level, 1.5 I think it was. Jingdong finally able to push up. Extending these laning phases seems to be the way to go for both these teams. I guess we're waiting for that big mid-game team fight, because similar compositions again. Heavy team fight from Jingdong. You can see, look at the CC, look at the layering that'll come through. There's so much annoyance that'll be dropped onto Vici Gaming, and to me it feels like their team are going to be focusing on those picks and their ability to clear waves and siege.
That is their advantage. I mean, sure, if it works towards your team composition, why not play towards it? But it almost feels as if, because Jingdong have got themselves a lead, that gives them an impetus to not make any plays in order to not throw it and to react, because if they manage to react accordingly, they should theoretically be able to win out any of these fights. Cleared, he's coming mid a lot, but I don't think he's going to hit too many things.
Well, he just did then, Preacher, and now with the ultimate brought all the way back, I bring you closer. Easy Hoon still lives, however, and going to be nom 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 nom. Out of the way you go. Caveman saves his life.
What a hero! The support roams up from Jingdong, and immediately that triggers the support from Vici Gaming to also move up in kind. Now, the jungle's losing out for Swift.
What's that? It's Jingdong. It's the doorbell once again. Cleared, pushing forward, and he's going to go around the bottom side. But no one really cares. I mean, these fights are instantly disengaged.
There's just so much disengaged potential from all of these teams. And not only both of these teams, but every single lane has their own respective disengage. So this is one of those things that really allows the game to get drawn out, to get very long. Tuck yourself in. If you got yourself a Snuggie or something, get yourself some hot cocoa, because this is going to be a very long one.
Back to laning phases. We're still there. And Swift is in the bottom lane going to look to make an impact. Cleared also going to match. Swift has evolved the ultimate first, which is something we've seen on the Kha'Zixes now. Especially with the young trendy people, the millennials they call it. They think it's good to evolve ulti first, which I do agree, Preacher, but
it's all about the fashion, you know. If you manage to get the camo on yourself, then you're just like, oh, take a look at me, I got new threads.
Especially with Death Blossom Kha'Zix, I mean, you got to look good.
Beautiful man Kha'Zix.
You got to look very exceptionally good. And what I've noticed with Kha'Zix is, if you don't have a skin, you're often not good at Kha'Zix.
That is true. May I quickly point out the fact that Clid got spotted out twice in that interaction. So I believe 3 times actually. So the first one was the minions seeing him, the second one was the ward, and the third one was Alistar's passive that roared over to him as well. So all 3 things combined means that Vici Gaming, if they didn't know, then that would have been a really tricky situation.
It would have been tricky, Preacher. Just call it is. It is what it is. It would have been a little bit silly from Vici's bottom lane, but alas, spotted out for a second time, cleared, trying to make an impact, but he gets put down each time, put down into the base, reiterate on where he's going to be next, and feels like mid lane has been the only place he's been able to make an impact.
He loves this place. It's his second home. You know, his first home is, of course, the jungle. You can always go back there. There are refrigerated chickens, refrigerated wolves, everything ready for you to just heat up and eat. But mid lane, that's his holiday house. I mean, if you ever need a break, if you ever want to surf, you know, go to the beach to get yourself a tan, go to Easy Hoon. I reckon he can provide it.
He can definitely provide it. Well, Swift. Okay, in he goes, into the mouth, up again.
Watch Mao.
Mao is going to have to pop the ultimate now, going back in. The Chain of Corruption has been used, and Yagal's going here. This is not good for Vici Gaming. They initiated the engage, and they may be able to find one, but no, Swift is unable to get Mao. Khalid's coming in as well, and Vici, they came back in. It's a pool party where everyone's invited. Martin flashes away way too early. The ultimate brings him back in, and see you later, Butterfree. He wasn't a good Pokemon to begin with anyway. 2 kills going to Jingdong, and Vici Gaming make a huge mistake.
That hurts my heart, by the way, but I don't think it's over. Jingdong, they want to get this turret after all that's said and done, and that was Like you said, initiated by Vici Gaming, they went into the middle of Jingdong because they thought that the Abyssal Voyage would catch them out. Immediate disengage from Mao, and then the collapse back from Jingdong to not only get themselves the kill, but also the turret.
See if potentially Zoom can get this top lane turret before they get the first turret down bottom lane, because it's going down rapidly. Let's take a look back at Zoom up in this top lane, because it is going to be a close one, and if they can take it down, they do get it. I think going into Mega Gnar was a bit unfortunate for Zoom. Had to push the wave anyway, so first turret blood going to Jingdong.
And Jingdong now busting the map wide open, in part thanks to the engage from Vici. Here's the Abyssal Voyage, but immediately gets cancelled by Mao. Double TP and also the Chains of Corruption gives so much advantage over to Jingdong. And with Clid coming here and everything else available for the team, they re-engage. And it was just really Martin who, at the end, was caught in a really tricky situation as he flashes for the Q to bring it back anyway.
I mean, the issue I see there, Preacher, is that you're fighting with Martin, who only has the Ginsus. Like, one item Cogmore is not a power spike.
He didn't even have it in that fight, so it's an even weaker Cogmore than you would imagine.
Whereas when GRD has Ginsus for a Varus, it's a much bigger power spike. Like, percentage health damage on Cogmore, great. It's not going to make all the difference, but with extra added base stats for GRD, it gets better and better. And now 1-0-1 on this Varus and holding strong in the CS department. He is almost half an item up on Martin. And Vici Gaming, they made a critical mistake. They're already down 3,000 gold just about, and the Ocean Drake will also slide in their back pocket.
That Ocean Drake is going to be not as effective as you would initially imagine. I mean, they don't really need too much mana. Yagar's got himself the Rod of Ages, so that'll give him plenty enough. But the fact that they pick up this Drake is always impetus for the Elder Drakes that come later on in this game. Both of these two teams are very well-known late game teams where they wait until they get to the late game. Not necessarily by choice, but simply by the way that they choose to play. So the Elder Drake is going to have a lot more impact than initially imagined, and every single Drake, regardless of whether it's an Ephemeral or something like an Ocean, adds up to that. Here's the Abyssal Voyage.
Once again, Yagao is being forced on the Ignite used, hello.
That was Ignite.
That was just still, I'm not sure why that was used, and this is another point. There's no damage going over to Yagao when you have so much AP, and considering that the only AD user is Swift, no one is doing damage to Yagao.
And Swift's not going to be in any of these fights. Guys, you should know this. Swift, it's either he's in his jungle or he's in the enemy jungle. This guy, he doesn't like civilization. He doesn't like talking to people. He doesn't like seeing people's faces. He wants to be with the wolves, with the Gromp, where he feels at home. And the fact that you engage that fight without Swift around means that there was no damage at all. But they burned the Ignite anyway, Hysterics. This is just bad calls all around, and with these summoner spells, with these ultimates, with everything being down, it's just handing the map over to Jingdong on a silver platter.
Now Rift Herald goes over to them as well. There's a lot more map control than we saw in game one. Bottom side warded well, and a little bit dark for Jingdong, but getting this deep ward coverage, that's what matters to them. And Clid able to have an impact. That is also another important point. 2,000 gold up, Jingdong continue to grow. Vici Gaming's bottom lane and mid. It's going to be responded by Jingdong immediately, and almost that Runan's picked up for the side of GRD.
You would have to imagine that he's actually working towards a Wit's End.
That's the one.
Yep, the Wit's End, extremely strong on this patch, but Zoom, I don't think he's going to get caught out.
March of the Ents comes forward. Zoom locked down. Preacher, I think you're wrong. Zoom does go down.
I didn't know that Swift would have flashed for that, just to get the slowdown onto Zoom. So that's my bad. I'll take that one. I'll take it on the nose. But in mid lane, GRD.
Well, Tara takes a bit of extra damage and will not go down. Vici Gaming will find some solace there. 3 members defending mid turret and getting some damage. That's really what they care about at the moment. 1.6k gold. Vici clawing their way back.
And it kind of looks really punishing for Vici because they don't have much consistent damage coming out of their team. The only DPS that exists for them is Martin, and he is nowhere near power spike. You need him to get 2 items before he's even doing an acceptable amount of damage. 3 items? Okay, then he's in a fed position in which he can do a whole lot of good work. But this Cogmore, look at him. he's not even clearing these minions particularly fast. He does even less to champions. It's going to be a very tough road ahead, especially given what happened in the early game in the bottom lane, where they tried to force a fight and just didn't win it through.
I'd be curious because when Martin goes back, I would say that he'd have enough to... Well, he'd probably be going, what, with End as well?
Of course he would.
Okay, alright. Settle down. Just asking Preacher.
Alright, mate.
You know, especially when you have a composition that maybe has got a lot of wave clear, you could opt in for the Redance, but hasn't been as big of a priority as we've seen in recent patches.
No, however, in bottom lane, Swift is coming into this one.
Okay, the ultimate again, and locked against the wall. That was a great ultimate from Zoom, but he's locked down for too far himself, and Mega Knight's going to come out pretty shortly. Flash from Lung, well-deserved play, and the teleport will even come in from Jingdong. Zoom's still alive. He gets the slow on the boomerang, doesn't have enough health to pursue himself, but Yagao, he finishes the teleport, and the rest of Jingdong are coming down.
But this is really the point that we need to take a look at. Swift, he's dead.
He runs into Jingdong. Goodbye, sir, and Lung has no chance whatsoever. Jingdong rotating so much better, and what is the response on the map from Vici Gaming?
They're not really going to get anything, Asterix. 3 members are down. Only the mid lane and ADC are up for Vici Gaming. They can't clear out mid. Take a look at where Martin was. He was clearing out the jungle, trying to get himself fed for whatever items that he possibly can. And funny thing, we were talking about the build of Martin. It looks like he's going to a Blade the Ruined King, which, while it gives him some sustain, is going to really hamper his damage even further.
Especially when you think about going up against a Galio. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Cleared very, very low on this Baron. Will actually die. I think he died from the Baron there. So goes into Bloblets. Vici Gaming now take this opportunity to get in. He's actually going to go down. So cleared. Bit silly. Jingdong now have to back off, and there goes their Baron.
You saw it. They wanted to go and get the honey fruit so that he could regen some health. But he's just like, guys, please, give it to me. No, 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 no. And then he dies from the last hit of Baron. So now control goes over to Vici Gaming. Let's see if they want to go for it. Swift is posturing as if he wants to, but the only real person that they're waiting on is Lung in order to tank this up. And 10 seconds on the clock. It's more like 20 seconds because it takes a good 10 for Clint to walk here.
Well, Swift has just jumped in, and Preacher, they started Baron. Vici Gaming. If this goes down, you have to blame Clint, because this is not good whatsoever. At 5k health now, Jingdong, they've got a lot to prove. They need to go in fast.
But they actually get caught out.
Okay, so maybe there's a bit of a sandwich going on. The Ignite goes on to Yagao again. Finally, this Ignite works out well. Great heal. He doesn't go down. 5 members still strong for Jingdong, but backing away seems to be their maneuver here. Vici Gaming will pull off Baron, they'll pull off the fight, and no one dies.
Hysterics, what is the opposite of being decisive? It's indecision, and that is exactly what we saw out of Vici. They could have taken that Baron for free. Clid was nowhere nearby. Even when he respawned, he was in base, and the Baron was on half HP. But they pull off of it because they want to go for a fight. You keep your eyes on 2 rabbits, you're going to lose both of them. Just take the Baron, because Clid cannot steal it away from you.
Back to the stage of waiting around this Baron dance. 22 minutes in. And still about a 2k gold lead. Oh, sorry, now 3k for Jingdong. Pick up the Cloud Drake, 2 to add. And the next one's another Cloud. Well, that's okay. You always got to learn to look at the positives.
I mean, have you ever played Final Fantasy? Cloud's the hero.
I have. I'm moving this back over here. Jingdong continuing to push up the waves, and it's been an absolute ripper. I'm trying to be positive. It's been an interesting series so far, and I think it just goes to show you that both these teams' decision making has been a big struggle in these team fights. Baron lit up like a Christmas tree for Vici Gaming right now. Swift gonna clear. Bit of information going over the side of Jingdong.
But the funny thing is that there's so much expertise in terms of individual skill for Vici. You got Easy Hoon, you got Swift. Those two are extremely smart players who should theoretically know what they're doing, but the shot calling out of this team is just so shoddy, for a lack of a better word. They should be doing much better than what they currently are. That Baron was a really big indication of their mistakes as an entire unit, because they don't make good calls, and when they do make good calls, like go for the Baron, they don't stick to it, and then they start splitting off in completely different directions. It kind of looks like every man for themselves, and then eventually people have to peel off even against their wishes. That is something they definitely need to tighten up.
Classic Baron waiting game will be spotted out by VG Gaming. Now,
They got enough wards in here?
I think they do now. Clid's in. Onto Caveman, over the wall, great flash. Mao's actually going to send him back into the team. There's no way he's getting out. Caveman goes down. Meanwhile, the split pushing Maokai continues to fall forward into the base, but Jingdong, they've started the Baron.
And now, I think that Jingdong should have very good control, but they go for this fight.
Okay, instead taking the turn. Swift was the one they were targeting. Now Lung is here. Teleport used. Jingdong is still trying to find the fight. Vici Gaming are posturing, but backing off all the same.
And now Jingdong, they have to decide what exactly is their decision. Do they go back to the Baron? They have the inside track, and they're clearing out vision along the way. This should feel good for them. But whether they started off or not is really their decision. Oh no, they're spotted out, and they have no control ward. Oh no.
Who would have thought? Jingdong, okay, they just start the Baron. Why not? Now Swift has to actually approach it.
Yep, Swift is coming in. There's also the Abyssal Voyage, so Caveman came in and cleared once again.
Over the side, Martin on the back. That's who you have to target. Heroic entrance, all 5 members from Jingdong. If they win this fight, they're going to start breaking base for VG Gaming, but again, nah, just defend, we'll be right.
Oh no! These teams, they pull off Baron way too easily. You do more damage to Baron than you initially assume, especially with Vici Gaming, who have a Cogmore. Barely does any damage to minions, does a little bit to champions, does ridiculously large amounts to Baron, especially considering that he should be getting very close to his Blade of the Ruined King just completed now. They should just stick to the objective because they do it much faster than what they give themselves credit for.
Well, it's 26 minutes in. Vici Gaming is still behind by about 2,000 gold. Hasn't changed. No one able to pull the trigger. It's getting worrisome because for Jingdong especially, they're on the verge of losing a series to VG. And it's something they don't want. That'll mean they're 5-7. That'll mean they go further into the negative. A team like Jingdong, there have been some great highlights. There's been some great moments. But we always come back to this step one, which is how do we firm up our decision making? And it seems like Vici Gaming have the same problem. What road are they going down? And you can put it all towards how we're dealing with these team compositions. Easy Hoon picking up the karma again. It was great in game 1, but it was situational, Preacher. Maybe there's something else that could go, something that could be a bit more proactive. Going into the Rabadons now as well. 3 to 4 items on the board here, Preach. And Blade of the Ruined King finally complete for Martin, but unfortunately he's almost half an item behind, or almost a full item behind, I should say. With GRD, who's 4-0-2 and is close to Blade of the Ruined King himself.
And GRD, he's going to be monumental in this fight if it does happen around the Baron pit, because Varus has so much control and they're trying to two-man it. There's no vision. This is completely blind.
Okay, so does anyone think about spotting this one out? They're like, hey, where's Clip? Where's GRD? No worries, boys. We'll do the Baron, and this is what happens when you have a Varus who has a big item power spike. Baron is going to go over. Totally unexpected for Vici Gaming. And that's what we call pulling the trigger. What? Why?
What?
Why?
Swift tries to stop some potential backs, but after all that is said and done, he doesn't manage to catch anybody out. Easy Who does manage to shove, but it's up against a Baron team, and now the impetus is on for Jingdong to make good plays.
Uh-oh, Clid is, he's hasn't lost his blue buff. It was actually taken away by yours truly. And Clid is going to just walk away. I'm not sure why Easy Hoon was like, yeah, TP in. Oh, wait, no. I'll get some damage on the turret. No worries.
Yeah, but he chipped it by like 100 damage, and that's not even him. That's the minions that were around. So after that, he backs off, and look at this. This is the time that Jingdong could be pushing if they didn't have the ADC in a side lane. I mean, Hysterics. This is very poor lane assignments, if you do ask me.
Well, I do ask you indeed. I do. I guess the assumption is here, Preacher, I mean, they are going to push top side, so not putting the AD carry in the side lane.
Yeah, it's not a terrible thing already. I just think that he would be much better bot with a Gnar pushing top because Baron is down. They have the buff, they should know. And the Cloud Drake is the next objective on the map, but they don't even give two damns. They don't care about the Cloud Drake at all.
Maybe trying to break the base. Top lane turret will go down. And the gold lead growing ever so stronger in Jingdong's favor. 5k now, and the inhibitor turret doesn't look too well defended. I mean, what are Avicii doing? That's some free hits, and the Baron minion is going to continue hitting away.
No banner of command, so it's not as strong as we imagined, but it's still chipping away. It's much stronger than it was previously, and very slowly you can see the health bars ticking down, assisted by GRD.
Well, it's going to be the next wave that crashes in that should be able to secure it away, and this is what we said for Jingdong. As soon as they get into the base, as soon as they pull the trigger, I mean, they can team fight and they can siege.
Yep, and more to the point, it looks like Jingdong are doing very good in these side lanes. So they don't even need a huge amount of time. It's still a whole minute. They should be able to bust this down quick.
Teleports in. Yagao was maybe trying to find a flash. The inhibitor under pressure as well, and Martin just can't clear these waves.
It wasn't necessarily for the flash, it was just to make sure that everybody backed off so that GRD had enough room to take down. But Yagao, I think he wants to re-engage, because with 1 minute on the Baron buff, they could definitely keep their eyes onto the inhibitor. They've busted out 3 turrets so far, Hysterics, and they're looking for something juicier.
Well, Martin, he's rushing forward. Swift at the side as well, and Jingdong, there's 4 members. They know Swift is trying to flank this one out. Down in the bottom lane, Zoom going for the fight, but we're looking at top still. Jingdong, 4 strong. It's a 4 versus 4. The inhibitor on the back of their mind. As GRD heals up, is that enough incentive to push on in? Well, Martin, I think not. He's playing so damn aggressive here that Jingdong just can't get back in.
And look, you just got to give really big question marks over to Caveman. I mean, usually he's a very good support, especially for protecting Martin, but what have been up with his abyssal voyages this game? He's been delivering whoever joins him to nearly certain death all along, and here's Zach.
Well, Let's Bounce brings them all back. Immediately dead is Swift and Jingdong. As soon as they turn up the heat, the trigger gets hotter and hotter each time. Zoom. Going to be getting the bottom lane inhibitor. Jingdong rotating down, the redemption to come through. All revitalized, all nice and healthy. Lung is the target. He's going to go down immediately, but flashes away as we get Nature's Grasp to lock down Jingdong. It still doesn't matter. The second inhib to drop. And Jingdong, after getting a pick, they find themselves breaking the base even further.
And now they can finally back off with their 5 turrets they've taken down with that Baron. That was a ridiculously good Baron. And it should be formalities from this point onwards, because everybody, even before the Baron buff, had such a nice power spike over their respective counterparts. This one should be much more insane than initially expected. Expect at least half an item above their respective laners, more than what we saw previously.
Now, 9k gold lead. Jingdong, 32 minutes in, has been, you know, really, what's a good word to say? A bit of a slow push, but one that has looked a lot more calculated from Jingdong. And Cloud Drake still not getting touched. No one cares about the Elder. I feel like Jingdong may just rotate down now and potentially looking for the flank instead. Fiji Gaming on the defensive still. Mid lane inhibitor be the last one to be broken. That Baron buff is down. It will be respawning to be taken once more in 2 minutes time.
And this is really the moment that we have to give credit to Vici. Can they hold, or will they fall? It's slow because the side lanes aren't exactly up to scratch with the team, but as soon as they start pounding the Nexus turrets, that's when Jingdong should be pulling the trigger, and Vici need to make a decision.
Minions crashing into the base, waiting for mid lane now, and Martin finally able to wave clear with that Runan's Hurricane. It's going to be super quick, but the ultimate has launched, and they go on to Martin too far forward. Chomped up by Caveman, the heroic entrance, heals all of them or denies the damage. As I should say, back goes Flubber, in goes everyone from JDG, sorry, I'm looking at someone else. Zoom, he's going to take the brunt of the damage. Martin is cleaning this one up. This is the dangers of the Cogmore. JDG lose 2 members, and Vici Gaming are able to defend.
Look at their face though, Hysterics. The Nexus turrets, you need to keep your eyes on it. And while they were so unorganized, they just lost their final inhibitor. So, with double super minions barreling down every single lane with less than a minute on the Baron, I think this story can pretty much write itself.
Well, that being the case, you have to remember Cogmore is scaling Breacher. 7,000 gold. And we're going to take a look at this one again because Flubber went ham.
Yeah, that was initiated by the Chains of Corruption. Excellently done by Caveman to get Martin out of there. And nobody's respecting the amount of Cogmore damage that, quite rightfully, nobody should have respected early on. But Zoom trying to 1v1 Martin, rookie error, and he starts to clean up for himself. But it's all the base later that draws him back.
Well, this is the... This is really the Ardent Sensor coming into play now. This is the healing that's coming through from Easy Hoon. So, although we said, hey, was it this relevant in Game 2? Earlier on, no. But now that we've gotten to the point where VG Gaming can start fighting back, where the Cogmore has the 3-item power spike plus the QSS, Martin is definitely a win condition here for VG Gaming and bringing them back into the game. However, Nature's Grass has been used, but caught out is the Maokai. Clit brings him all the way back, and VG Gaming all out of position, all out of sorts. Swift in the front line. Yagao, big flash, big taunt, big stuns from JDG. And Jing Dong, they don't clean anyone up, but they get them dangerously low to maybe get something on the backside. GRD actually gets a kill.
And they don't even need to get any kills as Sterix. Really, all they need to do is keep VG Gaming off of their own base, and they would have just won the game from the minions alone. Now, it looks like they're going to get a Baron because there's no Swift.
Baron and TP available from both mid and top. Do they go through with it? Do they just go in and not be cowards? We're about to find out. There's one in Nexus turret available.
Who cares about backdoor? Knock, knock. This is front door. Ching dong, and they're coming in.
Oh boy. They have actually used a teleport. There's the Bannon up minion, and he's looking big. He's a melee minion, but all the same. He'll be chomping and chewing and destroying and looing. As JDG, now they're looking for the final fight, and VG Gaming, they are not going to be able to defend this one. The Nexus goes down before anyone else does, and Jing Dong, they take us to a Game 3.
Much more decisive play from Jing Dong. They know what they're doing. They went to the Baron. They were baiting the Baron for the longest times, and VG Gaming, those decisions they made were extremely suspect. There was a period of time in which they were above the Baron, but they didn't end up completing it, and then they paid for it.
Well, Jing Dong looking a lot more concise, precise, and all concise in all times. I'm sorry, the words are just falling out. We're going to throw it back to you guys and see if you can make sense of that game.